Blacklight Protocol, a Red King Creations production. Episode 11, Mormons and Trees. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm about to tell you this story. And I can't believe that I believe it. My name is Aaron, and I'm a professional photographer. I say professional, which technically I am because I do run a business and everything. It's become my full-time job, but only recently. I typically take pictures at weddings, graduations, things like that. Recently, some anime conventions have hired me for cosplay photography. All of that's great, and it pays the bills and everything, but I've been wanting to branch out and do more wildlife photography. It's a totally different ballgame, and I think that when you take pictures of the world in its most natural state, you capture something special. So I've been going out on hikes, going out on walks, and I've been taking lots of pictures, practicing with some different ideas. One of the ideas that I had was I wanted to take some nighttime pictures. Something about being out and about at night is... At first I was pretty nervous. I would psych myself out thinking there was an axe murderer or a wild animal behind every tree. But if you spend enough time in the woods at night, you get used to it. Dare I say, you may even get comfortable. Then you find yourself in an altogether different world. The night world is alive and peaceful in a way that's difficult to explain. You feel safe for some reason. But the truth is you're not safe. And after what I saw, I don't think I'll ever feel safe or comfortable outside at night ever again. What I experienced unnerved me deeply. So here's what happened. I live in Chatsworth, Georgia, and you know we don't have much, but we do have some mountains, and one of them is Fort Mountain. Now, this particular night, I decided to go up there and take some pictures. Now, long story short, I'm heading up there, got my camera, my bags, some other things like that, and there's probably 3 o'clock in the morning at this point, and as I'm going, I think I see something further ahead on the trail. I pause and I start listening. Footsteps. I hold my breath, trying to be as still and quiet as possible, because these footsteps, they aren't animal footsteps. Sounds just like a person walking very casually through the woods. The steps weren't fast, but they weren't slow either, and they weren't very careful. At this distance, at this range, I have my flashlight on, because of course I do, and there's no way that whoever or whatever ahead of me doesn't know that I'm there. And then the footsteps stop. I wait a little longer. Why did they stop? All of these ideas are running through my head, and I just don't have any information to go off of. I have nothing. Hello? I ask. I think my voice is far quieter than I meant it to be. Hello? I ask again. Is somebody out there? I'm just a photographer taking pictures. Maybe I tried to explain myself as a plea for them to not hurt me. Maybe I didn't have anything worthwhile except, my $600 camera. I didn't get a reply. Just silence and the night air. Maybe a few crickets in the distance. I realize at some point that I can't stand there all night. I shine my light around, not seeing anything, and go to move forward. He's right there. I don't know how I didn't notice him before, but he was right there, standing still, not looking at me. He was wearing a white short-sleeved button-up shirt and a black tie and black pants. His shoes and socks were also black, and while they were in good condition, there was a little dust on the tip of the shoe. He had one hand on his hip as he looked into the woods, and the other hand on his black suitcase. Hello? I asked. He makes no move to acknowledge me. He's standing so still, only occasionally blinking. What are you doing out here? He looks like one of those... who are they again? Not Jehovah's Witnesses, I think, but one of the ones from Utah. The Mormons. He looks like one of those Mormon guys that ride around and knocks on doors and hands out pamphlets. Excuse me? I say, waving my hands in front of his eyes. Hello? I pull out my phone to call the police because it's just too weird for someone to be out here. Someone like this, anyway, not wearing any outdoor clothes. He's 15 miles away from the middle of town, in the middle of the night, without even a flashlight. When the light on my phone washes over his face, I see his eyes move. He's looking at me now. Hello, friend, he says, his voice as casual as ever, as if the circumstances weren't what they are. He reaches out to shake my hand, and I don't know what else to do but shake it. What's going on? I ask. Why are you out here? I'm just spreading the news, he says with a smile. My name's Paul, by the way. Do you have a minute to speak with me? No, I don't think I do. What are you doing out here? I take a step back. You were like frozen in place just a minute ago. Now you're acting like it didn't even happen. He's smiling at me like I haven't said anything at all. Then he sets his suitcase on the ground and squats in front of it. The man makes dramatic flair of opening up the case to reveal stacks and stacks of pamphlets. Maybe he actually is a Mormon. We're out spreading the news, he says again. The news of Gagaruk. I blinked. The what? Because of course the entire situation can get stranger. Of course it can. The Gagaruk, he continues, probably noticing the confusion on my face, is an ancient demonic spirit that roams these forests in the night. He blinks, still smiling even as he offers me the pamphlet. The paper is in navy blue, and on the front are little yellow dots that maybe could be construed as stars. A crudely drawn figure wearing a stereotype white shirt and tie is also there. In bold letters it says, The News. Not the good news or the bad news, just the news. Pretty good, eh? Paul raises his eyebrows with excitement. One of our youths drew the pictures. He's very talented. I open up the pamphlet and inside is a drawing of the monster. That's the only word that can come close. It's got the head of like a lizard, maybe an iguana, I don't know, something. But it has human teeth. The lizard head doesn't have scales. It's colored a pale skin color. Its body is gaunt, and you can see the ribs pressing through the skin, and how its stomach arches up closer to the spine. It has a tail, but a short one. Its legs are legs. Human legs. Except there's 5 on each side. The youth who drew the picture drew the feet as splintered and broken. Like the monster has worn out the legs, and the only thing that's stiff at the end is the protruding bone. The foot itself is blossomed out, peeled back, mangled. It also has long black hair on its head and some of its neck, as if it wasn't disturbing enough. I'm not sure what I should say to him. I mean, I have decided that I needed to leave, and to leave at that very moment. It was weird enough meeting someone who looks like a freaking Mormon or Jehovah's Witness or whatever, but in the middle of freaking nowhere? What I didn't need was a child's drawing of Satan's dog in a church pamphlet. Hey, friend, Paul says, holding out a steadying hand as if I don't look well. I didn't feel well. It's okay. The spirit of Gagaruk can be overwhelming. His spirit fills us so that we might be his. I don't... I shake my head. The word's not working. Paul seems fine with it, though. His smile only widens. Perhaps a little too wide. Maybe I'm just making things up at this point. I don't know. It's quite all right, friend, he continues. Come as you are, in your own time. Paul claps a hand on my shoulder and squeezes just a little. When you're ready, he says, pointing to my pamphlet. We have one of those fancy QR codes on the back. You know, it is amazing all the ways we can utilize technology to promote the faith. He gives my shoulder a pat and starts walking down the path towards the direction that I'd come from. Anywho, I best be on my way. The pilgrimage won't pilgrim itself. His chipper voice blows away in the breeze as he turns the corner, footsteps lasting just a little longer before they too went quiet. I'm left alone again, holding a pamphlet. I take a deep breath, and though I don't want to go back the way I came, because he went that way, it's also the fastest way out, and I have to get out. I cannot stay in this forest for another second. I don't want to say I ran, because I didn't, but I was moving as quick as I could while thinking about my safety, because if I fell and sprained my ankle, then I for sure couldn't run away. I was almost back to the car. I could actually see the singular light that glowed over the map of the mountain trails and a small section of gravel. There was blood everywhere. Imagine, if you will, and I'm not trying to over-exaggerate, I swear, but imagine that you took a large trash can, one of the big rubber ones. Imagine that you took one of those, filled it with blood, and poured it on top of a tree. Moonlight glistened within the thick red substance. It was still warm. So warm that the small steam trails wafted into the air from all around. His bag was next to me, on the side of the trail, as if he'd set it down. His leg was hanging from a branch, and I could see the ball joint of his femur bone protruding from the flesh. His torso was mangled, half of it intact, with one of the arms, and the rest of it looked like it had been chewed. Rib bones poked through the former white button-up. The arm that had been chewed was flat and ridged and missing all of the fingers. I didn't see his head anywhere, or much else of Paul. He was just there, spilled all over the tree. I didn't scream. I swallowed, gagged a little as I took in the smell, and then I ran. I sprinted as fast as I could toward my own car. I got to my car and I drove away, and I didn't stop driving until the morning. I didn't want to be home alone, and I didn't want to sit still. I didn't want to think, so I just drove. It's one of those things, you know, it has to be a dream, because it just has to be. I did call the cops, I did, but I didn't want to be connected to it. I made a simple call and told them that someone had died on the Pilati Trail, just by the parking area, and then I hung up. It happened too fast, you know? That's the part that I keep thinking about. I mean, well, I think about it a lot, but that's the one part I think that still makes me shiver. Paul couldn't have been gone that long. It was maybe, and I mean maybe, a 5-minute difference. And I never heard anything either. The blood was warm. I mean, if I had chosen to run out, like, down the hill, as soon as I saw Paul, I might have been the one to run into the Gagarook. I know it sounds insane, but animals don't do that. Animals can be cruel and vicious and savage, but they are not artists. They do not present things like this. Humans do, of course, but it was too fast and too quiet. The damage was too great. No human could have done it. There would have been evidence, footprints, tools, something. But there was nothing. One other thing before I go. I did call into the cops, and I know I could have, should have done more, but I called them, and even if for some reason they didn't get it, another hiker, another person, somebody would have seen the body and made the call. I mean, there's just no way it would have gone unnoticed. But I never saw anything in the news. I even went around to several gas stations looking at the newspapers. No obituaries, no nothing. I even checked the local police website just to see if I could find anything that related to what I'd seen, but there was nothing. I don't want to make a bold claim, but it seems to me like they covered it up. So yeah, there you go. That's the news. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing this story. I have to be honest, I don't know how to feel. I love listening to the stories. They're spooky and strange, and I've got several more already sent in. I just haven't had a chance to listen to or read them yet, and I don't know. I'm beginning to feel conflicted. I feel conflicted, and I didn't at first. This is recent, I promise, but I find myself thinking, it's not true. And I know that sounds really bad because it's my job to listen and be respectful and put this out there. But sometimes, and I think with this one especially, I'm just unconsciously thinking to myself, it's not true. It can't be true. I haven't been doing this podcast for very long. And even so, it's just a lot. Like, if it is true, then there are a lot of monsters out there in the world. And if there are so many monsters, so many crazy things, then why isn't it on the news? Why isn't the knowledge more widespread? Surely someone else has seen these weird religious people who have pamphlets of the Gagarook. I do feel conflicted. I have to be honest and transparent about that. And I know that these stories I feel are true are simply just subjective to my own personal beliefs, opinions, worldview. That is not a reliable way to discern these things. So even though I wonder, and even though I question, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to look into it. And I hear you. I want you to know that. I read your stories and I hear your voices, and what I will not do is call you or anyone who writes to me a liar. I just won't do that. I can't do that. I believe that you believe, and that's enough for me. Thank you for listening. See you next time.